Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
still going for this space. You would as Chimera super low.
But there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champions bow down to Jay.
Hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Nations Spring 2026. I'm Brackish Brit, joined on the desk by Nick V and Rob. And it's a day of reckoning, Rob, for our summer split champions, Brod and Friends, going up against the Bandits UK. And yeah, our summer champions. They've had a tougher time this time around.
Yeah, a lot tougher. Well, they did start again last year. If we cast our mind back to, the January, February, March time of 2025.
To curse, maybe.
They looked great in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, it faltered. Now, there might have been a coach involved in that running of that team that might have made a few mistakes, but I don't know who that guy is, and he's rubbish, so we'll get rid of him. But I think this time round, we have seen them really struggle. They've whether it's losing the first game or the second game, it's always a 1-1. And those games, although they look close, they make some fundamental mistakes that lead to those losses. For today, they're against the Bandits, who they look pretty good. They look pretty good the other day against Good Cheese. So we'll have to see how it plays out for our Summer Split champions.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, we look at the Broad series, and I'm sure we'll look across the rosters in just a moment's time, but yeah, Broad, they've been getting so many 1-1s. It's like, okay, we're going to stomp one game, and then, as Rob just alluded, make some kind of critical blunder that we're just going to lose the second game, despite it being usually fairly close.
I think it's mostly the issue of like, what do we really want to do this game, and what is our win condition? And sometimes they know their win conditions, but they don't really play towards them, and that's why suddenly things just get a little bit too close for comfort. And when that does, then we're at a level where the opponent can just capitalize on top of that. And even like, let's say we saw Broad a few times with a lead actually, and they just threw it away off of one mistake. So I think consistency is the key today to get a win against the Bandits, because the Bandits, if I know a team that can just be creative, it's definitely them, and it's up to Broad to adapt to it.
There's also some interesting. I want to lean a little bit more towards top lane, because obviously a bit of the deeper lore ahead of the split was that Aniki and Loopy were both considered for Broad top lane. They ended up going with Aniki, but obviously there is some history there, and Loopy has been known to pull a performance out of his backside sometimes and just make a game his own. Of course, Aniki also capable of doing that, but we haven't seen as much of the pop-off from him so far this split, at least.
No, I think Aniki has had quite a few difficult games. He's got a lot of focus within those games, a lot of jungle attention. The one that I really go back to would have been the Rise game, which I think is the one that you'd point to for Broad and say, is this a worrying trend, to copy a meme of many years ago? And he's just, even when he gets his picks, he gets his Gwen, he doesn't seem to be performing. And on the other hand, Loopy, who's had a couple bad games, there was a really bad game right at the beginning against Absolved that happened on Rubble, we were like 0-6 or something. But most of the time, Loopy's been incredibly consistent. He's able to bring out, more weak side style top laners compared to the Aniki kind of carries we've been seeing coming through. And he seems to provide more for his team overall than what Aniki's been doing. So again, this story in the top lane here, two UK top laners, both came in from the beginning of last year onto different rosters. We hadn't heard about them in the past. I have to see how their trajectory is for this game, as well as for the rest of the split, and then the rest of the year, because I think they're both they're going to go into the annals of UKEL history, aren't they? Because they're no longer the old guard. Akers is gone.
Well, gone to support.
He's gone. Well, they're all these top lanes we had before, they're not here. These are the next gen, or the newer gen of UK top. They've got to start really writing a legacy for themselves.
Yeah, because I mean, the next generation, as it were, we've got people like Barone coming in who want to start writing their own stories as well. But Nick, kind of on the same tangent of what Rob was just saying, like, what do you feel the trajectories of these two top laners are right now? And, is Luffy going to be determined to make Broad regret their choice this split?
I think when we look at them, right, Lupi has always been pretty strong. I think the first time I saw him play was when he was on Gucci last year, and it was really impressing me. He wasn't like ever the main character in that team. It was usually the jungler and the mid laner, but now in this team, I haven't really personally in the band seen a main character step up yet, and I really wanted to be Lupi, or at least like Lupi having that main side character that walks around with the main character, right? So I really just want him to step up. It was even Broad's like even Gov was like Lupi is someone we need to really be careful about, and I think if he gets to carry, he will just carry the whole game on his back, and I definitely do agree. I think he's a player that has evolved throughout the year, and really just came just in like as a complete package for himself, right? As for Broad, I think Aniki is kind of in the same vibe, but instead of where that he's progressively getting better, I think I don't remember which team Aniki was on previously. Was it
Rise? It was Rise.
Rise? Oh, it was
Yeah.
Rise.
Yep.
I actually was very impressed with that team. And Aniki was definitely one of them. But right now, as Rob also mentioned, he doesn't seem as strong as he was in Rise in Broads.
I'll have to see how that plays out as we get to the games coming up, obviously. But we were talking about the legacy of these two top laners. I feel like, Rob, we should also touch on the legacy of these two teams. Because, of course, they've both been around the scene for a fair old while. Brod and Friends are a household name, for good reason. And again, thanks to some sleuthing on behalf of Gov, it figured out the head-to-heads from matchups between these two teams since winter of 2025. In total, it's 6-2 to Brod. Does that weigh in enough? You know, the 1-1 curse has been plaguing them this split.
But as anyone who was there for summer finals, I did research on Brod's history, and until the Cabbage Core lot come in, the history of the Broad team, the Broad organization was not the most prolific. And I think that now that you've removed that sort of Cabbage Core history, Torp's gone, QQR's gone, Spark's gone, Zeta's gone, Akers has moved to support now. You know, they obviously, as we said, they were summer split champions. I think looking at the past here, some orgs, they live in their glory days, and things change quick. Things change quick in League of Legends. You know, just look at Nick's region. Look at Nick's region. These teams that in his region they come through. These Dutch guys, they get a 10th place UKL team come in and they smash them. So this is what we've got to look at here: is the Bandits. Yes, historically Brod has had the better of them, but the roster that beat Brod at the beginning of last year had 3 of the players that are now on this Bandits roster again. Kenny's there, Loopy's there, and JB is there. They had a really strong performance in that beginning of last year. I'm looking at that time to be a sort of mirror onto today, more so than the Cabbage Core Brod days. So Gov can do his research, he can bring up his numbers, but he's got to perform on the Rift today. His team have to show that they actually deserve a top 4.
We will see about that, Rob, because I have been just informed by production that we do need to step away for a moment. Some sort of technical difficulties, perhaps. Hold fire. Stay right there. We'll be back in a couple of minutes tops. Hopefully be very close to draft at that point. See you in a moment.